Have you ever had an idea that was so clear it was like a 3D movie? Have you ever told a friend about the idea and they told you, wow, if you could only make that into a business, you would be rich? Sound familiar? Welcome to Knowledge the Currency. I'm your host, Senator Porter, with my co-host, Roosevelt Williams III, and we're here to help you take action. This is free information. We only ask one thing: build a strong foundation and mindset. We have insight to help you get started. Most of us just need a push.
If it is to be, it is up to us. When we are free, we all are free. All free. We all free.
Welcome to Knowledge the Currency. This is episode 15. I'm your guest, Senator Porter, and my special guest today is Sharissa Sosa. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. Let's start first. Tell us about, I guess, how you got from sales into being more like a mindset or lifestyle coach.
Yeah. So for me, I started, I have a strong background in sales and entrepreneurship. And I first got into meditation really, as an entrepreneur and joining masterminds with elite entrepreneurs who are doing really big things. Mm-hmm. And they prioritized meditation. Everybody was talking about meditation and how it helped them make more money. And I was like, oh, you're making more money? I'll meditate. I can try it out. And really, that was my initial motivation, was like, I don't really understand the connection, but I'll try it.
How old were you when you first started to meditate?
I really started about 10 years ago, but okay. I would say I really committed to my practice deeply about 5 years ago.
Okay. So when you really committed, like, I've tried meditation. I'll be the first to say I'm not perfect at it, but I do try it. What was it that helped you get over that hump to be able to be more proficient at it?
Well, I started noticing the differences that I was making in myself, and I was like, well, I wonder what my life and what I would look like, what my business would look like if I actually committed to it and I became more focused. And then I started taking classes to teach meditation and mindfulness. Okay. And I do work with a lot of entrepreneurs who I found had a lot of similar struggles, as me. And so sure. Or just busy people with busy minds. And to the point of not being perfect at meditation, I get it,
Oh, man. Can't stop thinking about other stuff.
I get it. I totally get it. And that's what I love about the system that I teach, is I do work with people who have ADD. And the thing is like having equanimity with your practice, which basically means like just being cool with however it unfolds, sure. Is probably the most important thing. Okay. Because no effort is ever lost in anything that you do.
That's true.
Right? You make 10 phone calls, you make 100 phone calls, you don't get the results, but you know that compound effect.
Sure.
Right?
Better than zero.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So 10 is better than zero. Right. So you were in a sales job. Tell us about your sales role.
Yeah, so I sell Cutco, and I'm a Cutco sales professional. So I started about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And
so for people that don't know, I know what Cutco is. But what is Cutco?
Yeah, so it's really high quality, American-made knives, kitchen. We're a kitchen company.
Right.
Been around since the 40s, and we also do branding for a lot of real estate agents and business owners, because it's like a dishwasher safe business card. They just last forever. So I started selling Cutco about 10 years ago, and then I quickly, went to the top. And my first full year, like just dropping everything and going full time, I was number 1 and number 2 in the nation in my category.
Nice.
And now 10 years later, I'm in the Hall of Fame at Cutco. I'm over 1.5 million in sales. And
wow.
It's really interesting to see the difference between like how hard I would push with a lack of mindfulness,
right,
to how I can work less and sell more, you know, in less time.
So I guess you kind of you're more seasoned now, so you know when to push and when not to push, so that you're not working yourself to death, which a lot of people do. They only know one gear is like, oh, I gotta grind and
right.
Okay.
Right.
So let's talk about it. So now that you know that, you don't have to work as much. Let's talk about the Cutco model. So from my understanding, it's almost like they sell the product, and then people continue to order the product, and then you get revenue from it?
Yeah, exactly. So I just do direct sales.
Right.
And so to your point from before, what really made the biggest difference for me and my business was my mindfulness practice.
Okay.
And that's why I'm so deeply passionate about teaching it in life and in business, because whether it's positive stress or unpleasant stress, there's stress in being an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
You wear many hats. You have people hitting you up all the time. There's stress, there's family, there's life things that happen that you have no control over. And so I think one of the greatest skills that I was able to acquire in deepening my practice and hiring a coach and becoming a coach was actually learning how, emotional intelligence is a big topic in entrepreneurship, right?
Sure.
But I think one thing that is missing from that conversation in entrepreneurs is mindfulness.
Sure.
They tell you to just push through and shake it off and not let it affect you. Okay, but how are you actually moving through that resistance, right? That resistance, sometimes I'll sit and make 100 calls. That's not comfortable. But I have strategies and tools to be able to work through the life challenges that happen around my business to be able to show up.
Well, in my example of sales, kind of like for me, if let's say the goal is 100 calls for the day, to just go straight 8 hours calling 100 people, for me wouldn't really work. But if I say, okay, I'm going to break my day up and I want to have lunch at 12. So when I get in, I'm going to get some emails done. For the next hour, I'm going to call, and I want to reach 25 people or leave 25 voicemails or whatever. Then, by time blocking it, that kind of tricks my mind to say, okay, I did 100 calls, but I didn't have to do it all at once. But if I had to do it all at once, I probably would quit and be like, all right, I'm going to just send some emails to people. So I could see how that works. So then from what's a way that you exercise that people could do to work through a real stressful moment?
So what, let me think about that. What would I recommend somebody working through a stressful moment, in their business and their life, and just having to show up regardless? Yeah,
you got work going on, and then something personal happens, and you get a text message. One of my quotes is, one phone call can change your life. It could be good or it could be bad. So sometimes you get a call from someone and it's amazing news, but we've all had those calls where it's bad news, someone died, or there's a car accident or whatever it could be, something terrible. So then what's a way that people could calm down, continue to finish whatever they're doing through the day, and kind of work that through their mind? What would be an exercise they could do?
Yeah, so to answer that question, I'd like to go a layer deeper.
Yeah, of course.
And talk about emotional management.
Okay.
So everything that we take in our lives, we take in through our senses, and we take it in through the core of what the mindfulness techniques that have improved my life and that I teach is the three senses that all of our life experience falls under, because we take it in our three senses, and that's what you see, what you hear, and what you feel. And you can have an inner and an outer experience in all of those areas. So, a lot of times when we're stressed, we might have, we catastrophize, right? And that might show up as an image, right, in our mind, in our imagination, right, where we visualize. It might show up there. It might show up watching a car accident, what we see in our external environment. It might show up auditory, mental chatter, right, negative self-talk, or looping, right, obsessiveness about a certain topic or a stress point, or that person pissed me off, or I can't believe my employee did that, or how dare them talk to me like that, right?
So they don't let it go.
Yes, exactly, because there's this looping. So there's sometimes an inner chatter, sometimes with here, it's inner and it's outer, right? What somebody says to you, that could impact you, right? What you feel emotionally, and what you feel externally in your environment, like the skin on your hand. So I'm just talking about how we take life in.
Right.
So when it feels almost impossible to escape that stress is when 2 or 3 of those are linked together and they're tangled together.
Okay.
So if we can work on what we talk about is divide and conquer. So if we can train ourselves to notice these different senses happening, not together but separate, then we have more control.
Okay.
Okay, this is just something I'm seeing. And what we do is we detach the personalization of it. We notice it as it's just something I'm hearing in my mind, right? That I haven't hit my goals, that, we're not on track, or that, my mom is sick, right? Or the kids are messing up in school, whatever it is. And if we can notice it as just a sensory experience, just something we're experiencing with our senses, then life becomes a lot more simple.
Right. Yeah, I think with me, I make things really simple. Most people say it's too simple. If I think we should do something, I'm like, all right, let's go. And everyone's like, well, what about this? What about? I'm like, no, we said we're going to do this. And it could be go out to eat or something. I feel like people add all these extra steps to things when we should just make the reservation, someone make a call, we all show up on time, and we do it. But for whatever reason, people don't do that. If it's whether they want to start a business, or they want to start a YouTube channel, or they want to move out of state, they add all these extra things, like you said, the self-talk, or they talk themselves out of being great. So how could they, or I guess what would that be called, and then how would they deal with that?
So what I hear you saying is resistance, right? There's this block, there's this gunk, there's this resistance. And so I want to address the 3 skills that all meditation, the skills we already have, but we develop them actively through meditation.
Okay.
One is concentration, our ability to decide what's important regardless of the distractions around us, whether it's an emotional distraction or somebody or your phone, right, dings, or that itch to go to Instagram, right, instead of making those calls or talking to that person or making that phone call. So concentration. Your concentration power, which imagine if we could all just be a little bit more focused, right? What our businesses would look like.
Right.
And equanimity, which is basically not being emotionally attached to whatever the result is.
So getting into the process and fall in love with the process and see where it takes you, more or less, than saying, I have to hit this number, otherwise it's a failure.
Yes, that and...
Okay.
And not being so struck when things don't go your way.
Sure.
Or when somebody's coming at you, or you don't get what you want, right? Or you spill your coffee first thing in the morning on your white shirt, right? How do you respond to these little moments or the big moments in your life? Actively, passively, which is our true nature. So concentration, equity, and equanimity, and clarity.
Okay.
Clarity is the 3rd skill. And so with clarity, we could be mentally clear, emotionally clear. So if we dial in those 3 skills, we can better handle and face the stresses that come along. So with that resistance, which I'm very familiar with that, I'm very human. I meditate a lot, and I teach it, and I practice it myself, but I experience very intense emotions and that kind of thing. And so with deep practice, those experiences that emotional turbulence, or the mental turbulence, right? The overwhelming chatter, the stress, or looking at a crazy schedule. It doesn't have to be an issue anymore. It can simply be something we're experiencing, and we're looking at it through a lens of a sensory experience. Okay. And so what I would recommend is, because a lot of times with that resistance, we avoid it. Mm-hmm.
Ignore it.
Or ignore it.
Yeah, people ignore like those things. They know they had to do this. There's a deadline coming, and for whatever reason they procrastinate. Then the deadline comes, and then there's their chance, and it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And so one thing that I've actually been practicing is when I feel distracted, just like paying attention to that. I notice it's always resisting the moment in front of me, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've been practicing myself and working with my coach is, how can I like really befriend that part of me that wants to resist the moment in front of me?
Okay.
How can I bring it closer and build more of an intimate relationship with this external experience that's happening? And the benefit of that is a lot of times it'll change and disappear.
Okay.
Or it becomes just something that you're feeling. It's no longer tied to this thought of, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I don't want to do it. Now it's just like, oh, I feel like a tingling in my chest, or I feel like a pressure, I feel like a rock there. And then it's, you just become lighter.
How many times you meditate a day?
Every day. A couple times a day.
Okay. You do it when you first wake up, or what's the routine?
Yeah, I do it when I first wake up. And because I'm recording more meditations, I meditate while I guide it.
Okay.
And I meditate throughout my day. Like while I was walking here, it sounds super hippy dippy, and I'm all about it, but it's really about, I stopped and I stared at this gorgeous flower. I saw a beautiful flower, and I wasn't going to miss that chance to like savor the moment.
Well, you were late, so it's all good.
I wasn't going to miss that chance to savor the moment, because that's the moment in front of me. The same way that our resistance, our stress, savor that. That's your life unfolding. That means you're alive. Like, it's not an enemy.
Okay, so the moment, capture it, savor it. So how long is your meditations usually?
On average, about 30 minutes. Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good time. So my little 5-minute meditation.
That's perfect. That's perfect. You know what? So when I tell you, like, I sprinkle meditation throughout my day. Okay. So I do something called a background practice where, like, let's say I'm having a conversation and I'm being triggered. Mm-hmm. It's like, you can't be like, hold on one second, let me go breathe, right? Or let me go punch a punching bag. Right. What tools do you have to self-navigate that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I sprinkle it throughout my day. I'll meditate right before I go into, I love, some of my favorite sessions are my little like 1 minute, 30-second sessions. Okay. And 5 minutes is perfect. Like, start where you are and celebrate where you are. Yeah,
because after 5 minutes, my mind starts thinking about my phone, what I got to do for the day, all the different, because I have a normal job in the day. I'm basically a talent acquisition coordinator for a bank. So I'm helping to build our brand and build offices, find talented people to work for us. Then I do real estate investing, and then I also do this podcast or YouTube channel. So I've started this in December, and I've been learning about it. So I feel like I don't even really watch TV or like even hang out with my friends anymore, because I'm always like studying, trying to make this better, trying to get better at what I'm doing. So it's like my mind's always going. Always.
So I'm curious for you, if we could make this personal a little bit.
Sure, of course.
Where do you feel like mindfulness or bringing more presence to your life, like if you were to link like your personal professional goals and like how it could apply to mindfulness, like what could that look like for you?
For mindfulness, for me, I just always try to, especially lately, not be afraid to try new stuff or do something that like a year ago I wouldn't have tried to do it. Or like even doing this, I talked about doing this for a while, but I never did it. And then now my aunt passed away, and she didn't get to do the things she wanted to do before she passed. So then I was like, well, you could pass away one day as well. So I don't want to have any regrets. I don't care what things look like. I just want to try them. And then everything, or usually, unless you're just a natural or something, you're going to be terrible at it when you start. But if you continue to do it and work through that and just be grateful you can do it, you'll get better. Like no matter who it was, if they were a singer or athlete or whatever, they started at some point where they weren't good. And then they worked through that and got great. So that's what I've been most mindful about, is just enjoying the process. You know, when I first started doing this, I wasn't as good as I am, and I plan on getting better. And don't worry about what it looks like. Just keep doing it. Just keep going.
Awesome. And I'm really sorry for your loss.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we had three aunts. They're older than my mother. So my mother's the last aunt that's alive. So they all have passed for different reasons. The last one, she had colon cancer. But, you know, I'm grateful because even with that, before she passed, she lived on this street, on Fifth Street, or Fifth Avenue. And I would see her all the time. We'd hang out, tell me all kinds of stories. I learned all types of stuff about my family, my grandmother, stuff I didn't know because I was so young. And now that I'm older, she can tell me the story. So I got to experience that because I was with her, even, you know, before she got sick and she was healthy, and we'd go to dinner and stuff. My friends would be like, man, you hang with your aunt a lot. And I'm like, yeah, it's actually funny, like, to listen to her point of view and get perspective.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate
it. So as far as, you obviously have your sales business, and you have your I guess, what would you call your business? Mindfulness
meditation coach.
Yeah, you're a mindfulness meditation coach. Do you prefer one over the other?
They're not mutually exclusive.
No?
No, because, so people ask me that. They're like, are you a mindfulness coach or a meditation coach? So I do say I'm a mindfulness coach because I teach people how to meditate with their distractions.
Okay.
And I teach people how to implement mindfulness into their business and into their everyday life.
Okay.
So that they're happier and more fulfilled and more present. And I mean, think about how much we could accomplish if we were just happier and more present. And I could say, like, with my teacher training this year, I think this is the best year of my life.
Okay.
And the reason I paused and hesitated to say that was because my dog died this year.
Oh no.
And that's my family. Like,
yeah.
It is the biggest heartbreak of my entire life.
Sure.
But even amongst that, and I do have something I think that's really valuable to share around how I was able to navigate that grief and
Sure.
still succeed in my business. But first, it's funny, I was looking at my numbers today, and I'm up 26% in my business.
Okay.
And my mindfulness coaching business is have more clients, you know, than I had before. And
Right.
I took a month and a half off, and I was in Colombia for a month, and I'm going back for a month in September. And
Nice.
I take a lot of time, and it's really because I just do my best, and I'm not perfect at it.
Sure.
But I do my best to be right there.
Okay.
Like, with the moment in front of me, with the client in front of me, and I let go of my attachments to, you know, what I want to happen for me, and I'm just fully there to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this ultimate presence, this calmness, this happiness that's created this for me.
When you created this business, how'd you know what to do? Like, how'd you know, like, hey, I want to do this. I want to basically coach people to, you know, experience what I'm experiencing. How'd you decide, like, not only can I make a living doing this, but how do I decide what to charge? And, like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it really, a lot of the confidence of starting something like this started with my Cutco background.
Okay.
And as soon as I took my level 1 teacher training, I just had a deep desire, and I started noticing the difference in my life and how I was able to tackle the life in front of me, my business, all the different, like, and savor the joy. It's not just about mindfulness. The benefits aren't just about being able to move through the challenging moments in your life tactfully and skillfully. It's also about savoring the joy and implementing practices to be happier and prioritizing presence.
Okay.
And you build that when you have a consistent meditation practice.
Okay. So then from there, you started the business. How many years have you had it now?
Cutco Cutco?
No, your mindfulness.
Oh, about 3 years.
So 3 years. So
but I have my background in coaching, so having the strong background in coaching, before really deepening my mindfulness practice, I've been coaching for like 8 years.
Right.
Coaching entrepreneurs, with my Cutco background.
Okay. So then it kind of prepared you to do this more than you thought, right?
Absolutely. I did anticipate, because with Cutco, I mean, to give you perspective, like I started with the people that I knew, and my mom didn't give me no referrals.
What's up with that?
And I mean, I love her. She's bought thousands of dollars worth of Cutco for me.
But no referrals.
Because she just likes to keep to herself, but she's bought so much Cutco. Let's give her some love. And so I say that to say I started with the people that I know.
Okay.
Right? I started with a list of, I think, like 10, 15 people. Mm-hmm. And now I have over 4,800 clients that I communicate with on a regular basis. And it's not just that. I really built relationships with my clients. Like, they know about my life. I know about their lives. We talk about deep things together,
Sure.
And the relationships are really what matter. And so, yeah.
I went to a Forward Academy, was in Vegas, and Ed Millett was saying that if you want to be really good at sales, you have to sell happiness. He's like, if you think about McDonald's as an example, he said that they don't sell food that is healthy for people, but all of us have had a Happy Meal. All of us, I know me, I was begging my mom,
right?
We go get a Happy Meal.
Right?
Terrible food for me.
It's so bad. And our parents didn't even know.
Oh, yeah,
nobody knew back then.
No one knew. Or if you think about cigarettes, or you think about anything bad for us, they sell this. If it's cigarettes, they try to say you're macho or you look cool smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
But if you smell it, you smell terrible. But apologize if anybody smokes cigarettes, but I'm not a fan of that. But if you think about things in life, that's marketing. Really good marketing is just making you happy. And
it's true.
If you can make people happy or have them think whatever you're selling to them, it will make them happy, they'll buy it. No matter how much it is.
Exactly. And because they're committed to their own happiness in their life.
Sure.
And yes, through, promoting my mindfulness coaching, I do sell happiness.
Right.
Because I do help people be happier. And people right now, people need it.
Yeah.
People need to learn how to be calm. People need to learn how to deal with stress. People need to learn how to be happy.
Or be by themselves. Some people can't even. I got a friend got married because he can't be by himself. I'm like, man. He's like, and he's happy with his wife, at least as far as I know.
Right, but then what is that attachment? What if that wife is no longer there, right? Yeah. A tragedy or a personal choice. And having, mindfulness is also about not having your happiness attached to your circumstances, but nurturing that within yourself. And so to go back and piggyback off your question from before when I was talking about moving through that resistance, one thing I did during my grief is let myself grieve. But then when I was trying to build the momentum again to work, it was so hard. I was so devastated. And I was not motivated.
Right.
I was not motivated. And so I worked through learning how to navigate that emotion. And in fact, I noticed that when I could really be intimate with it and really be with it, and I wasn't pushing it away, it changed and it disappeared.
Okay.
And then what I was able to do with all of that space is I was able to practice what's called a feel-good practice, a nurture positive technique, which incorporates, I'm not going to, it takes a while to sit here and teach you it. I'm not going to teach you right now, but to give you a little overview, you're sitting and you're thinking, remember we talked about see, hear, feel. You're imagining why your goal matters. You're imagining all the little details, right? And you're actively feeling good about it. But 20% of your attention is what you see, this encouraging words that you hear, and 80% of your attention is on what you feel. So for me, when I started practicing this, I ended up making $10,000 in the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
After I was having symptoms of depression, but it wasn't an issue.
Okay. I get it. So then, with your pet passing, it's different because you couldn't speak with them. Like when my aunt passed, I felt I dealt with it better than most because we talked about dying before she ever got sick.
Wow.
So then I was like, hey, if I ever pass, I don't want people to be upset. I don't want them to be grieving, forever. Like, obviously, you're upset that you're going to miss someone, but I want you to enjoy yourself and have a good life. And she goes, I feel the same way. And we talked about that. She's like, I want you over here moping and crying and all that because one day I'm going to pass. And this was like 3 years ago because we were talking about COVID and all different people dying. And every day she'd hear about somebody passing away because she lived to be 70. So we would talk about that kind of stuff, which is kind of dark, but in a way,
it's real life.
Yeah, everyone's going to die someday. So you should talk about these things
Absolutely.
with your family, with your friends.
Absolutely.
Even with money, people are so scared to talk about money and stuff like that. But if you're not saying, hey, I had a good month and you can't share that with your friends, you probably should get other friends because that will motivate you or let you be self-aware or in the moment saying, hey, there's people out here making X amount of dollars doing whatever, and it's legal. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's so, but people are afraid. Even me, I was taught, don't brag about how much you make or, keep that private.
Right.
But I think there's a way to do it where you motivate each other. So I think that's a good thing. I'll let you have a drink real quick.
I'm addicted to water.
Is there any announcements or projects that you have going on that you want to tell us about?
Sure, thank you. Well, I do have a free course. Okay. You can go to my Instagram page, Sharissa Sosa.
Okay.
Or my website, thegiftofmind.com/courses. And I have a free course to teach people how to meditate. Okay. And it's focused on mental chatter. It's only 4 videos. They're each less than 10 minutes. It's pretty straightforward. I've gotten some really great feedback on it. Okay. And then I'm rolling out, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm rolling out a new program called Becoming the Alchemist. And it's a one-on-one 6-month program where we really tailor to your personal needs in your life and your business and your triggers and just being more calm and more happy and working through stress. Okay. And I take people's happiness goals. People don't even really take the time to think about what are their happiness goals. And sure. The creator of the system, he's actually originally a mathematician. So there's a lot of science backed behind this. It's not this woo-woo thing.
It's not the flowers.
No, it's not the flowers, although I'm all about it. I'm all about it, but also we got a job to do, right? And let's talk about facts and psychology and neuroplasticity and all that, right? So it's both. And so I work with people on tailoring. I also do 3 months, but ideally if you want long-lasting change, 6 months is a juicy spot to start with, to be able to handle what life throws at you. And just imagine if you could be more focused, imagine just 1% more focused. Sure. Or 1% more, less reactive.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that I feel like a lot of times people will react to something before they get all the information, and then they look like, I overreacted on that. But if you just waited a second, because we went to Waterfront, and a friend of mine, and we go in there, we're like the first to come for happy hour, so the bar was empty. So the manager was there. So the manager waits on us, takes our order, and then we start waiting. And then about 10 minutes later, people start coming because happy hour actually started. But she ringed us in early. So then her actual staff comes in. So now she goes to the back and does whatever. So we eat our food and then we get ready to leave. So then the bartender tries to ring us up, and everything was wrong. So my friend, he just was getting all upset, and I'm not really worried about it. I'm like, big deal. She made a mistake or whatever. So she gets the manager, they fix it. So then he doesn't want to leave the lady a tip. And I'm just like, really? And he's like, yeah, they messed up our order, they did this and that. And what ended up happening was when I ordered these tacos, they brought me 3 types of different tacos when I really wanted one. So then he ate the tacos that I didn't want. So you really got 2 free tacos.
Yeah, everybody wins.
So
What's the problem?
Yeah, so I'm looking, I'm like, hey, we got free tacos. And she came over and apologized to us. Like, what's the problem? And he's like getting all upset. And I'm like, man, we're in San Diego. It's 75 degrees outside for happy hour. We're not slaving, working somewhere. And you're getting upset that they like mixed our tab up at the end and didn't overcharge us. And he thought about it and he's like, man, you're right, man. I'm overreacting. So that mindfulness of what you're talking about, a lot of people need that.
Yeah, and like shortening that gap and being able to notice and catch yourself sooner.
Yeah.
So that because when you pause, you give yourself, that's power. You give yourself the power to respond when you pause. But if you just speak impulsively, if you swipe that credit card impulsively, right? If you make these decisions impulsively, that's an emotional reaction.
Sure.
And so if we can learn to make things less personal and act intelligently, make intelligent decisions,
be a lot happier.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to tell you our time's up. I appreciate you being on the show. I hope I'll put all the information you listed about your website, your business. We'll even do the Cutco as well.
Okay.
And I hope that your future endeavors are awesome. And thank you so much for attending.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
So much love.